that's where I've been so impressed by this car. I am satisfied with the sporting aspects, but I'm impressed with the luxury aspects. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been spending the last week with the 2023 Audi S6. This is a fairly well-optioned prestige model, coming in at just over $91,000. Obviously, a comparable 2024 model will cost you a little bit more. You can get 3 different trims of this S6, Prestige being the top one, and then there are some packages on top of it, including the Design Edition, which is giving you these 21-inch wheels here, a black roof, and a few of the interior styling bits that we can see in there. Some of that cool red cross-stitching, some red accents on the seatbelts. And we also have the S Sport package for $4,000 that's giving us, on top of silly things like red brake calipers, more importantly, dynamic all-wheel steering, sport exhaust, and sport rear differential. A lot of use of that S word there, which I guess is fitting since this is an S6. But I've also been treating this a little bit as a review of an A6, because it's not too often that we see Audi sedans in the press fleet, and ones that make their way over to little old channels here like Daily Motor. But I've always been a really big fan of the A6 line in general, and the A8 and the A4. My father owned an A4 once back in the day. I really liked it, and I actually put a down payment once on an S6, the B6 generation of the S6, and I was really close to pulling the trigger. And then I ended up going Japanese and purchased an Infiniti M35X instead. But my heart still stayed with the A6, and so I've always been a fan of these cars. And it's probably not too often I'm going to get to drive another one. So some of this review is going to be a little bit talking about what the Audi 6 sedan is like in general. But then you cannot get away from this 2.9 liter V6 engine that really has surprised me so far this week. In fact, I think this whole car has surprised me. And I shouldn't even say I think. This car has surprised and impressed me the whole time I've had it. Bringing up the hood here to reveal this motor. Not that there's all too much to see, but I saw a little bit of packaging there. Adds a little visual aspect for you here. A mentor of mine once said, we as experienced reviewers and journalists, generally just people who drive as many cars as we do from an informed standpoint, can tell you most things about a car, can tell you most of what you need to know about a car within the first 100 meters of driving it. And I experienced that with this S6. The first night I took it out, shoot the winding road night drive, I was impressed. I thought, oh wow, this is this is a surprise to me. This is a surprisingly fun car to drive, because the looks are fairly subtle. I mean, yes, this gray looks pretty darn cool. In fact, what's the name of this color here? This is Aviator Gray Pearl with a black interior. It's just black. I kind of actually respect that. It's not the most flashy looking car, and obviously you can get the RS6 Avant up on top of this and the RS7, so there are absolutely crazier versions of this car as well. So I was surprised that just with this relatively small turbocharged V6 power plant, this car really does know how to have a lot of fun. But what was more important to me is the fact that, yes, it's been fun and exciting to drive, but it doesn't give up any ounce of luxury and refinement on top of that. A lot of manufacturers these days push toward these sporty characteristics of a vehicle, and therefore they make the ride harsh, they make the exhaust droney, they go too far in the sport side of things and forget about luxury aspects. At the end of the day, most of your driving is done in traffic, or it's done under low speed limits, so you need to still have that luxury aspect when you're spending $90,000 on a car. And that is what this car does so well, on top of the sporty nature. So let's take a quick look under the powered trunk here. We do have a spare tire, which you lose if you opt for the 19-speaker Bang & Olufsen Advanced system. This has the 16-speaker, what is this one? Is it Premium? Premier? Whatever. It's the 16-speaker system. So check the link below if you want to see the breakdown review of that. But if you get the more advanced one, you're getting no spare tire, but a big old subwoofer back there. In the back, of course, this is a mid-size luxury sedan, so you're going to have a good bit of room. Myself as a 5'10" person, I can sit up actually really comfortably. My head's not touching at all. Nice contour to the seats, good foot and knee room. I've got heated seats back here as an option. Climate control adjustments, flip down armrest with some cup holders. Certainly a nice place to be back here if you want to drive some clients around. But making our way up here to the front, you can see we're greeted with a remarkably handsome interior. Audi does quite possibly my favorite interiors in the luxury car game on the new car market. It comes down to their ergonomics and their switchgear. I've been so impressed so far this week having a nice scroller volume knob with real physical buttons all throughout the steering wheel. It's so easy to navigate the different aspects of the gauge cluster and the MMI center infotainment screen, adjust my music, switch tracks, turn on the heated steering wheel, set the cruise control. It all works so well. We even have a real physical volume knob that's got good clickage and back and forth, right and left, adjust the tracks. That mild hybrid just brings the car to life. I am a bit nervous about all of this piano black down here. I suppose if you kept it in good shape, it would look good for a while, but strong risk of scratches and that looking dated after a number of years. Also don't love the fact that we don't have a lot of places to put things in here. You got 2 cup holders, you got a space to put the key if you want, and then a fairly small center console right here. You get 2 adults in here in the car with a few drinks, some cell phones, some sunglasses, a snack, a book, something like that, and there's virtually no place to put everything. So I don't care for this huge center console area without a little bit better utilization of space for stuff. Stuff storage is really important these days. Soft closed doors. Climate control that's done through a screen. Don't necessarily love that, especially if you need to quickly adjust temperature, but I'm actually seeing right here you can actually scroll and adjust the temperature really quickly, so got to take back a little bit of that criticism right there. A really nice interface here as well, built nicely into the dash. Listen to those clicks. Sounds good. Wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, very important. Not the largest screen, but a very nice resolution and very responsive. A few different drive modes. Getting up into dynamic. Take a listen to the sport exhaust. This car's got some character. It really does. Let's go for a little drive here and talk about it. First things first, you'd get nervous with 21-inch wheels ruining the ride, but somehow Audi has managed to keep this thing calm even on impact harshness, even going across highway expansion joints where I would expect really rough noises to come through the cabin and harsh vibrations. They filtered it out really well. I have to give them credit. And listen, right here, we're going to exit this parking lot, and it's going to be a lot of off-camber flex to the chassis. We're going to barely hear any creaks or rattles or squeaks. Really well buttoned down. I've been in a lot of cars recently, a Range Rover and a Mercedes, that every little parking lot that you go in and out of, you're hearing the interior creak around you. Not the case with this S6. Very light steering and a light, small steering wheel. I don't love the perforated leather on it. I'm sure that's something that we get with the sport package, but look at this. Pinky steering, very light. And a really well-tuned throttle, even up here in comfort mode where I've done most of my driving. 8-speed automatic transmission, a great number of gears for this car, and great responsiveness all throughout the rev range, driving experiences. It's soft, smooth shifts all the time. I will say there's a strange tuning to both the brake and throttle applications of the car. I have found myself trying to come to a stop smoothly and falling short. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's something to do with the sport brake calipers or what. But a little bit of jerkiness on both the acceleration and deceleration. Shift down into dynamic mode and then thwack the shifter over to the side. You got manual mode. Whew, listen to those. Brower would be beside himself. And again, it's not necessarily that the ability for a huge automaker like Audi and Volkswagen Auto Group to build a sporty driving car like this is really all that impressive, but it's the fact that this car has such a great bandwidth. It's the fact that we're getting sporty, strong, fun driving characteristics like this, but then the fact that you change a few knobs and all of a sudden you're in this smooth, quiet, supple, serene luxury sedan. That's where I've been so impressed by this car. I am satisfied with the sporting aspects, but I'm impressed with the luxury aspects. It doesn't hold gears for you, so if you're pushing down all the way through, revving up to the next gear, it will shift. Ooh, a tunnel. All right, not the most tunnel, but we're gonna do it here. We're gonna get a little rumble. Ooh, a Beetle GSR. Something you do not see very often. That is a Volkswagen Golf GTI with Beetle body on it. I would very much like to have one of those someday. Something that has not impressed me particularly has been the fuel economy. We didn't actually run a highway fuel economy test on this S6 just because I really didn't think the market interest was going to be there. But granted, I have been doing some more enthusiastic driving and some idling while shooting this car, but 17 miles per gallon over the last 171 miles, not a particularly fantastic figure right there. And even the EPA numbers for a 450 horsepower car and sedan like this, really not fantastic. That is certainly a con, even for a car like this. It doesn't help that you're going to want to be driving it, listening to those burbles and that motor. I've just been really happy with the characteristics of this engine in all sorts of driving, aside from the efficiency. Because this is a 48-volt mild hybrid, you get a remarkable smoothness to the engine stop-start as well. I don't think it's going to engage itself right now, maybe because of our air conditioning, but you'll see maybe later on in the review as the engine shuts off, it's very calm, and then when it comes back to life, you hardly even notice it. Very well refined. It's one of those subtle features that you don't necessarily even notice on the spec sheet, but it's a good reason to upgrade your luxury vehicle, is getting something that has a 48-volt electrical system. Super tight turning radius with that rear wheel steering. I'm fortunate enough to get to drive so many different vehicles throughout a year, and I know that a car like this is particularly good when I'm still excited to go out and drive it, because I have a lot of different options. We've got a listless 2023 Chevy Bolt, I've got my truck, I've got all my motorcycles, I've got a lot of different press cars. There's a lot of different things that I can drive, and I've got more coming every week. So for me to actually be excited and looking forward to going out and spending time in a vehicle is something that doesn't happen all that often anymore, as sad as it is to say. But I've been happy to drive this S6, and that says a lot about a car. It really does, because there are cars that are much more expensive than this that we've had recently that I have been so ready and happy to give back. Despite a lot of manufacturers pulling out of the sedan game, the luxury midsize sedan marketplace is still particularly competitive. So, you know, would I rather have this or an E-Class? I'd pick this. The E-Class, the last one that we drove, I felt it cheaped out. I was always a huge fan of the E-Class, and then this most recent generation I drove, between the technology and the interior materials and the way the car drove, the wow factor was gone for me, and I was really disappointed by that. So this is coming over the E43 and 53 for me. And the BMW 5 Series is brand new for 2024. I'm actually getting an i5 coming here soon. Don't know when I'm going to have a gas 5 Series, That one would be tough for me because BMW powertrains are excellent. Throw a B58 in there and it's going to be, really hard to compete. I mean, the B58 is going to be much more efficient. This powertrain is arguably a little bit more exciting. I do think I slightly prefer the tech suite and the general ergonomics and feel of this interior, but I don't like the lack of stuff space, and I think the 5 Series is going to have that one beat. Let's see, Acura TLX Type S, a little close to this. I might be trying to drive one of those here soon, but obviously this is going to be a more impressive car. It's much more expensive. So if you're in this sort of market for this priced vehicle and this type of vehicle, I highly, highly recommend checking out the S6, because driving it, you can tell it's been engineered by people who also drove the car, who focused on making the most enjoyable and pleasant driving experience possible, not chasing numbers on a spec sheet. I mean, for gosh sakes, this engine is less powerful than the outgoing V8. How often do you hear of a manufacturer putting in a lower powered engine into a newer generation of car? But the characteristics of the car are still there. It's still fun. It's still a great car to be in, and it's just a pleasant car to have to drive as well. And that is where it deserves a good amount of kudos. So again, one of those cars that I'm gonna be sad to see go. And it's a reminder that Audi is perhaps one of the more slept on brands. It really is, and they do a lot well, so they deserve some attention. New aspect to our reviews. I am now instituting a ranking system for the cars that I drive. Now, I know a lot of people have asked, oh, how about you do something like a Doug score, or, give the cars a tier rating or something like that. I'm actually taking some inspiration from a motorcycle channel I watch, RevZilla, for their Daily Rider segment. And Zach Kortz over there, very unscientifically, puts up a list of every bike that he's driven for Daily Rider and just kind of says which one is best, which one is better, and kind of ranks them around. And I want to experiment doing it the same. I just want to look at no real objective criteria. I mean, it factors in, the objective factor factors in, but the cars I drive, how do I rank them subjectively just on how impressive of a car they are? For example, the last few Daily Motor Car of the Years, Volvo S60, Hyundai Kona N, and Honda Civic, they've all been impressive at their price point. They've been impressive at any price point, and they've executed their mission really well, and they're just good to drive. So we're going to go through and rank the cars I've driven so far for 2024, and then as I get new vehicles, we're going to see sort of where they fall into the ranking. So this is what we've driven so far: Toyota Prius, Hyundai Ioniq 6, Land Rover Range Rover, Audi S6, and Mercedes-Benz GLS class. Let's start off this way: Toyota Prius versus Hyundai Ioniq 6. I'm putting the Ioniq 6 above the Prius, especially that SE rear-wheel drive version. Land Rover, Range Rover, that's definitely at the bottom. Mercedes-Benz GLS class, we're putting that below the Prius. Audi S6, that's going Prius Limited, Audi S6 Prestige. I think this $90,000 price tag is going to keep the Audi S6 right there. So there we go, in between the Prius and the GLS 450 in terms of the Daily Motor Car ranking. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how it builds up throughout the year. I guess it's just sort of how impressive is the car to me. And sort of, if someone just walked up to me on the street and said, hey, what's a good car, where with no other sort of criteria where I'd put it. But the S6, definitely still impressive, and I'd like to get some time in more of a basic A6, maybe around like $55,000, $60,000, see where that falls. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, luxury German car on.